This doesn't work. And we're at my sister's house. So you know what that means?
You have to fix it.
I have to fix it. This is rubbing and then it's hitting this. So if I lift up on this whole thing, oh, it goes like that. I can get the door open, okay? But then it doesn't want to close. Don't mind that the thing's rocking back and forth. Forget about that part. I think there's an easy fix here that you can do because I can do it. Is that to have to lift this up every time? It's just not family friendly, is it?
I've been doing it for over a year now.
The secret is in here. So here's what I think is happening, besides the fact that the whole thing shakes. Pay no mind to that. When they built this, okay, let's just politely say they built a gate, all right? But it is now leaning down like this, so the door hits the gate latch instead of going into the gate latch. You can kind of see how this is bending down. And there's a pretty simple fix to this. All right, let's pretend we went to the hardware store. Oh, hey, we're back. What was this, 12 bucks at the store?
Yes.
What we're gonna do is basically make this thing level again with a cable and a turnbuckle. So let's just start going, all right?
It doesn't look crooked to me, Eric.
I know. I don't know if that's called an optical illusion, but it's falling down enough that it won't, all we need is like that much lift on this side and the gate will latch again.
All right, I'm taking your word for it.
All right, 2 brackets. We went into the store and I was looking for some kind of overbuilt threaded rod thing, and then we found this kit. You're gonna put 2 brackets in the corners here, pilot hole. The second hole here is kind of right at the joint of the wood.
Oh.
Not great, but we're gonna go with it, all right? The second one, I'm gonna put it in. I mean, if this were a really big door, we could drill a second hole here. I'm gonna go up like this. So instead of going into the joint between the two, I'm gonna go up into that 2x4. Like that. It doesn't look flat, but we don't want it flat. We want it to go up and tie into this because we're gonna have a lot of weight on here. I'm gonna see if I can do this without a pilot hole. A pilot hole is a thin, narrow drill bit that drills a small hole in the wood so the screw goes in easier. There you go. Again, the second hole is right near the joint of those 2 pieces of wood. So I'm gonna go down and in. So far, this has been pretty smooth.
So far, yeah.
What could go wrong?
We're gonna drop something.
Yeah. So this is pretty cool. I read the instructions on the way home from the store.
Okay. I'm trusting you.
Well, I fixed a whole bunch of other stuff for you yesterday, right?
Yes. By lunch, we were almost through the list.
And I was exhausted. This is a turnbuckle. These turn in opposite directions, and when you, I'll show you, but when you pull them back in like this, they can tension a rod or a cable or something. To start out with, we want to screw these out so this rod is all the way out like this. I'm not very good at putting this kind of thing into words. To me, in my brain, it just works. And I understand it innately, but to try and put it into words, that's why I make videos, because get a little tongue-tied. So we want it out like that on both sides. So we'll just spin that. This is like watching paint dry. So that hooks through there.
Oh, neato.
And then this cable is gonna go down to here. And this is going to lift this side of the gate up so it's flush again, level, and the gate will work.
Should I have just bought a pre-made gate instead of have the guy make it by hand?
Well, maybe. This gate was made with nails, and I think you gotta realize a contractor is trying to get the job done. If they lowballed the job, they might be losing money. I think this should have been made with screws and had more supports in the corners to make this, you're essentially building a rectangle that has to last the winters and the hot of the summer. So I would have built it differently. I'll be polite. This stuff is what they use in airplanes. So this goes through here. So you see I've got 2 loops around the turnbuckle and that bracket down there. So at the top and the bottom, we need to keep these connected so this doesn't get loose, right? So I've got a neat clamp here. This goes across like that. So what you're doing is you're creating a metal clamp to hold these cables in place. We'll do it like that. We'll have it so the nut faces in, so cosmetically it'll look nice, because I'm all about having it look nice, right? All right, same thing up here. We're gonna do this finger tight, then we're gonna tighten them up in a minute, okay? We want the cable to be tightened to its maximum. Well, we want it as tight as we can get it before we start turning the turnbuckle. So the less slack you have when you start turning the turnbuckle, the better. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you turn the turnbuckle, you have to have your clamps really tight, otherwise the airplane wire is going to fly out of the clamp.
Exactly. But this is simple. You know, I can do this, you can do this. It is not rocket science. It sure helps if you're not trying to make a video while you're doing this. But see how the cables are on both sides? And I'm gonna pull on this as hard as I can. We wanna bring this, we don't want a lot of cable slopping around, flying around, because that could scratch somebody. You can cut these cables with a right angle grinder if you want. It might even be better to grab this with the pliers, you know? It's actually easier to come to someone else's house and do all the work, because you're like, oh, this is fun, this is easy. Now you go back to your own place, so you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, we're going to retension that one. This one I'm going to tighten as tight as I can get it. And then we're going to go get a pliers and yank on that. These are generically called clamping pliers. Vice Grips is a brand name. These are not them, but you basically want to, you have an adjusting screw here, and we want to clamp onto this wire really tight. And then I'm gonna pull on it. See, I've probably pulled a 1/2 inch out of there. And while I'm pulling, I'm going to tighten the clamp back up again. I flew 1,000 miles for this. We did get to go to Waffle House though.
The redeeming part of the trip.
That's all I talk about. I'm like,
The first 2 hours after landing.
I would like this tighter, but I don't know if I can make it any tighter. I really was, let's just turn the thing and see what happens. Classic garden fork form, right? So you can literally, at the get-go, you can just turn this by hand. You can see, like I just turned it a couple times. We barely used any thread on here at the same time. So this is like the D string on a stand-up bass maybe? Do I know what I'm talking about? No. And then if it gets too hard, you can switch to a wrench here and tighten this more. And the gate might start making a sound like boom, 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 you know, because you're moving it where it hasn't moved in 10 years or 20 years or something. So maybe we could try the door now.
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah. All right, we're gonna crank it some more. This hinge is crooked.
No.
I think we need to rebolt this hinge, and then we'll finish with the turnbuckle.
Is that another trip to the hardware store?
Well, we'll see what we have in the basement. You know, never know.
And shouldn't it have more bolts?
Yeah, there's 2 here that should be here. The problem is this is where the stud is, behind the decorative fence part, and this is below that, so you're just going through cheap wood. That one never works when we're on camera. Hold on. There we go. This is crooked. That's kind of a red flag for why a door won't close. Look at that. All right, lag bolts, pilot holes for lag bolts, and then we're up on the phase 3. Here we go. Now, does this open easily? It's easier. It's still not quite there. See how it's below there?
Why are you taking those bolts out?
Because we're gonna adjust where the door rod strikes this. I'm just gonna lower this. The door is square now. The hinges have been repaired. The last part of the puzzle is to make it so that rod from the door comes boop and goes right into here really easily. And this is about a 1/2 inch too high. If we just change this, the door would continue to sag.
Oh, I understand.
So now we've fixed everything, I think. So it'll work hopefully. This is tricky because we moved this thing maybe 3/8 of an inch. So the pilot holes for the old bolt are right up here. So I need to kind of drill down. How many times have you been to the hardware store, Tracy?
3?
That's pretty good. But we're not out of the woods yet. I gotta get this to bite. You have to lean into it. There we go.
And push it downward?
Yeah, a little bit. I just put a little screw in here to hold it in the right position so we could bolt everything together. Oh, I'm in the front yard. I'm gonna close the gate now. Who's buying dinner?
Me!
Yes, you are.